Hello everyone, my name is Espinoza, and today I'll be presenting my senior lecture recital on the various roles of the drum set in contemporary musical settings. The goal of this project is to show that the drum set is used in more ways than just a human metronome, and to show that through recent yet uncommon musical styles. I've chosen 5 pieces from contrasting styles that will be demonstrated in chronological order to emphasize the development and application of the drum set's use. Each piece will include background on the composer, and in some cases, the drummer used in the original studio recordings, comparing and contrasting to the drum set's function in relation to the style, and how the cymbal choice and drum tuning help reinforce their role within a musical setting. The pieces discussed in this project are designated to focus on a single specific role that the drum set fulfills, yet it isn't limited to that certain function within that certain style. Everything discussed about the drum set's function is applicable across different genres and musical settings, but for today's purposes, we will be examining them one at a time in reference to each piece. Before we continue, I want to talk through the different instruments that make up the drum set because they will be referenced throughout the project. First, on the left, is the hi-hat. It's made up of 2 small cymbals that are put on a cymbal stand controlled by your foot. They can be played open or closed. Next is the snare drum. It's a medium-sized double-headed drum, and it's unique because of the metal wires that can be turned on and off that give it a distinct sound. Next is the crash cymbal. This cymbal can range in sizes, but it's normally a little bigger than the hi-hat and used occasionally for the accents. The toms are double-headed drums that can be tuned differently and are normally arranged from the highest pitch tom to the lowest pitch. The bass drum is normally the lowest tuned drum of the drum set, and also the biggest. This is the only drum that sits on its side and played on the ground. Lastly is the ride cymbal. This cymbal differs from the crash cymbal because it's used for more than just playing the occasional accent. It's called a ride cymbal because the drummer usually maintains a steady pattern on this cymbal, or a ride pattern. Now that we've looked at the different parts that make up the drum set, let's take a deeper look into how they're all used together in these pieces. Four is a swing jazz piece that was originally composed by Miles Davis and recorded in 1956 for his album Workin' with his quintet. The album was the 3rd part of a 4-part album series that all released within 1 to 2 years of each other. These included Cookin', Relaxin', and Steamin'. These albums were previously recorded from 2 separate sessions that resulted in these 4 albums. Often called the first great Miles Davis quintet, it consisted of himself, John Coltrane on saxophone, Red Garland on piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and Philly Joe Jones on drums. After helping form this group, Philly Joe Jones solidified his spot as one of the most influential jazz drummers of the 50s. Jones's playing style revealed his acute awareness of his role within an ensemble. He could keep steady time to ensure the band played together, but he could also play virtuosically as a soloist. His balance between the two is what makes him stand out from the rest. He uses the hi-hat and ride cymbal to play a swing pattern because their higher frequencies can cut through the mix. This makes it easier to follow the tempo as a group and is characteristic to the standard jazz style. The group is also made aware of the form of the piece by how a drummer plays a fill. A drummer's fill is called this because of how they use a space to either prepare for a new section of the piece or emphasize the one being played. Also characteristic to this style is the overall higher tuning of the drum set. What made these drums different from drum sets we hear today is that their higher tuning brings out melodic elements in the drummer's playing. Darker cymbals were also used in this context, which means they are thicker and usually visibly darker. We hear these elements in 4, where Jones assumes the role as the timekeeper, while also highlighting the form of the piece. At the opening A section of the piece, Jones keeps time on the hi-hat while also highlighting the main melody on the snare. He keeps his rhythm simple in order to move the group together and provide a clear pulse. After the opening section, the tune continues through the chord changes as each member of the quintet takes a solo. Jones's playing is notable throughout each solo because he highlights their rhythms on the snare drum and complements their melodies with shifting dynamics, which also helps in highlighting the form of the piece. During his solo, he trades 4 measures of soloing with Miles Davis. This technique of trading 4s takes place over the form of the entire piece and is commonly used in music. Jones's solo builds in difficulty as each phrase passes, and finally, the quintet finishes out the piece. Now I'll be presenting this arrangement of 4 by Miles Davis to demonstrate the drum set is used to keep time and support the form of the piece. Blue Bossa was originally composed by the American jazz trumpeter Kenny Dorham. It was recorded in 1963 on an album titled Page One, which featured his quintet that included Joe Henderson on saxophone, McCoy Tyner on piano, Butch Warren on bass, and Pete La Roca Sims on drum set. Sims was an already established jazz drummer by the time he joined this quintet, but he didn't begin his professional career as the drummer people now know him. He gained early professional experience by playing timbales in Latin groups and earned the nickname La Roca, which translates to The Rock. Earlier than his days of playing in Latin bands, Sims had his start in classical music, and his playing style exemplifies the experience he's gained being in several contrasting musical settings. Blue Bossa gets its name from the style it's played in. We hear Sims playing a bossa nova pattern as the introduction to the piece. Brazilian samba music, while traditionally fast-paced and performed with high energy, is the origin of the bossa nova pattern we hear in this recording. The bossa nova pattern focuses on the laid-back eighth note pulse to be the heartbeat of this musical style. In this instance, Sims plays eighth notes on the snare drum using an implement called brushes. Brushes are designed to provide quieter sounds on the drum set by the use of thin metal wires that emulate a brushing sound. He uses the brushes in blue bossa and keeps his playing minimal. By starting like this, he establishes himself as the style setter for the tune and the heartbeat for the quintet. He achieves this laid-back sound by only using a hi-hat, a snare drum, and the snare drum's rim. Because this piece is played within a similar setting as the last, the same drum tuning and cymbal choice is applicable here. The simplicity of his drum set for this tune shows how his playing style is always focused on keeping the pulse steady and ensuring the group is stylistically unified. Together, the ensemble plays in a bossa nova style throughout the whole piece, and they take turns soloing over the chord changes of the chart. The drum set is used to set the style and will be demonstrated in this arrangement of Blue Bossa by Kenny Dorham. Coffee Street is a piece composed and recorded by Andy Narell on his album Fire in the Engine Room, which was released in 2000. This album features the steel pan as the lead melodic player in this musical setting. The piece is mostly played in a calypso style, which originated in the Caribbean islands of Trinidad and Tobago. These islands are also the birthplace of the steel pan, and it's also their national instrument. This arrangement of Coffee Street will use steel pans, an electric bass, and a small rhythm section known as the engine room, made up of congas, a break drum, and a drum set. Rather than focusing on the drummer in the recording, the attention is turned to the engine room as a whole and their stylistic playing. In a calypso piece, the engine room plays something called the tresillo pattern. The drum set part is dictated by the tresillo pattern as the bass drum plays on the one and the and of beat 2, which are the first two notes of the rhythmic outline. The third note of the tresillo is on beat 4 and is played by an accent on the hi-hat or the snare drum. The conga part also highlights the tresillo by the way all three of its accents fall on the key pattern. The break drum and scraper parts play constant eighth notes and emphasize beats 2 and 4 with soft accents. Played together, the rhythm section uses the tresillo pattern in the opening A section and carry the pulse of the piece. The B section can still be outlined by the tresillo, but it's played in a contrasting style. This is because the drum set is playing a variation that came from the calypso pattern called soca. Also, the break drum player transitions to play a cowbell, and the conga player plays a pattern usually associated with a Latin style. While this section is very different from the opening, it helps enforce the feeling of the tresillo. Then, the drum set player now assumes the role as a collaborator within the engine room, while still leading the group stylistically as they return to the traditional calypso feel for the rest of the piece. What's different about this piece from the last is how the pulse is now indicated by the bass drum rather than the cymbals. In this project, we'll see how that development continues with more modern music. In Narell's piece, the drummer now indicates the laid-back tempo from the bass drum rather than the cymbals, which are now brighter. The brighter cymbals help accent the parts of the piece and help make it easier to hear over the whole ensemble. This is complemented by the overall sound of the drums being tuned lower and resonating in lower frequencies. Instead of higher frequencies driving the pulse, like the cymbals in jazz music, the lower frequencies in the group, like the bass guitar player and the bass drum, move the song forward. We'll hear the drum set being played collaboratively in this arrangement of Coffee Street by Andy Narell. Composed and performed by Nate Smith, Get Down is a drum set solo part of an 11-track drums-only album titled Pocket Change. The album was released in 2018 and focuses on simple drum grooves. These become a stepping-off point for Smith to embellish and create his own musical ideas from. Nate Smith, a 3-time Grammy-nominated artist, improvises every track on Pocket Change and executes the recordings in one attempt. One thing that is characteristic to his playing is his impressive timing and feel. This is always put on display whenever he performs, and in my opinion, makes him one of the greatest drummers of this generation. This particular solo focuses on those two traits to move the song forward. Inspired by the well-known drum set shuffle pattern by Bernard Purdie, the Purdie Shuffle is a triplet-based drum groove that focuses heavily on the drummer to be his own timekeeper. The steadier the tempo, the better the shuffle feels. This concept is also known among drummers and musicians as pocket. If a drummer has good pocket, then they can play steadily in time and without fluctuation. The shuffle pattern also uses a rhythm called the backbeat, which emphasizes the second and fourth beats of a 4-beat measure. The backbeat is also used in many songs in popular music today and is considered as part of the standard drum pattern. The feel of the shuffle pattern, played in Get Down, is enhanced by Smith's distinct drum set sound, which uses lower tuned toms, a lower tuned bass drum, and a mid-range tuned snare. These low tuned drums give the drum set a darker and bigger sound, while the snare stays in mid-range to be able to hear the notes being played in between the backbeats. These are also called the ghost notes. Smith's drum set is complemented by larger hi-hats and larger cymbals to maximize the volume of his crashes and provide a bigger sound. In this demonstration, we'll see the drum set being played in a solo setting while also keeping the pulse. Before I get to this last piece, I want to say a couple thank yous. Thank you to my previous teachers in middle school and high school. Thank you to Andrew Lynn, Michael Chester, Terry Jolly, Tim Hale, Lalo Davila, Jamie Hafner. Thank you to all those people for helping me grow as a musician and as a person. Thank you to the UTM faculty, to Julie Hill, for literally everything, I feel like. Thank you for being such a great teacher to me when I was a freshman, and for your patience, and for being a great leader in this department. Thank you to Shane and Chelsea Jones for being great teachers and good friends as well. And thank you to Shane for teaching me that drum set is all about the groove. And thank you to Dr. Pendel for helping me throughout this project, and for your patience with me as a senior, because I know that senioritis hits hard and you've been patient throughout that. Thank you to Dr. Gorman for teaching me how to play better in a jazz setting and for helping me in this project as well. Thank you to Micah Barnes for helping with the audio recording of this project. It would not sound the same without you. I also want to say thank you to Jonathan Tyree for helping me with this project, with your video equipment, with your lighting equipment. This project would not look the same without all of that. And also thank you for just being a good friend and roommate when we were in Ellington together. I just appreciate who you are and how you always make me laugh no matter what. Also, thank you, Nathaniel O'Neill, for helping me with this project as well, and for just being here and for being one of the camera people, and also just for telling me about UT Martin when I was still in high school. If it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't end up here, so thank you, and I'm thankful for who you are, and I'm thankful for your family and just being able to know you. I also want to thank my family. Thank you, Angie, my older sister, for just being there for me, for being my original best friend. I'm so glad that we're as close as we are and that we can talk about anything, and I'm so glad that you've helped me throughout this college journey, and I'm glad that you've been there first and that I can come to you whenever I need any help. I'm so proud of you, and in this journey of music therapy for you, I know it fits you very well and that you're on this path that God is leading you, and I'm just so proud of who you are. Also, my mom, I want to thank my mom for being so kind to me, for loving me, for showing me grace, and for teaching me what that means to show to other people. She's walked me through, Mom, you've walked me through so much, and you've been with me through so much, and I'm just proud to be your son, and I'm proud that you are my mom and that you are who you are. I want to thank my dad for teaching me literally everything that I know on a drum set, and everything about music, everything about faith, everything about being a good man. Dad, you've taught me that, and I value that more than anything in the world. Thank you for teaching me at such a young age, and for teaching me the things that I thought were so boring but turned out to be useful in college. Thank you for teaching me what it's like to love the Lord and to love people well. I'm so thankful for who you are and for being my dad. I really truly appreciate everyone who's helped me throughout these 4 years, and even before then. I'm very grateful for each and every one of you, those that I've mentioned and those that I haven't mentioned. There's so many people that have affected my life that I can't even remember, and I've just been so blessed, and I'm so glad that I've spent my 4 years here at UT Martin. Now we'll close out this project with this last piece. Throughout these different settings, it's clear to see that the drum set always has a specific and significant role. Like I said before, every function that the drum set fulfills doesn't necessarily stay in the style that it was mentioned. In this last demonstration, I wanted to pick a style that captured how the drum set is used in all the ways that I've previously discussed, and one that I really enjoyed. I hope you've learned about how the drum set is used in different contemporary settings from this project, and I challenge you to really listen to the drum set part of your favorite song and see if you notice how its function resembles anything that I've mentioned today. This last song, You Never Give Up on Me, is written by multi-Dove Award nominated songwriter Travis Ryan, and it's a prime example for a genre that is rarely mentioned. Contemporary Christian music is considered one of the fastest growing music areas in recorded music history. While this genre of music is relatively simple compared to the previously mentioned pieces, the songs in this genre focus on keeping steady time and emphasizing the lyrics that inspire the song. The instrumentation resembles that of a rock band, which involves a singer, an electric guitar player, a bass player, a drummer, and a keyboard player. More often than not, these bands are accompanied by pre-recorded tracks. These tracks are designed to send different signals that either only the audience can hear and only the band can hear. The signal that the band can hear usually includes a guide that speaks when a different part of the song is approaching, while the signal the audience hears provides depth and movement to the song. The drum set playing in this style becomes more aggressive and present to the audience. The drummer becomes the driving force of the song while also being a clear indicator for the pulse. This is done by playing overall simpler rhythms and playing on the backbeats to reinforce the song. Because of the common verse-chorus form of this genre, the drummer uses dynamics and the complexity of a pattern to differentiate the parts of the song. For example, in the verses, the drums are more involved and the rhythms being played fill the space but remain at a medium loud dynamic. When the song reaches the chorus, the rhythms played become more open and are played at a louder dynamic. This is emphasized by the lower drum tuning and the use of bigger and brighter cymbals to help support the loud dynamic that a chorus brings. This final style was chosen to help emphasize how the drum set is used by combining all of the previously mentioned roles, keeping time, highlighting the form, setting the style, playing collaboratively, and becoming a soloist. We see all of these things demonstrated in this last song, You Never Give Up on Me, by Travis Ryan. I also chose this song because of the message that God never gives up on me has kept me going throughout my college career. I hope you've learned something and you've enjoyed watching this senior lecture recital.
You found me